Hi guys, welcome back. We're recording twice in a week. It's intense.
It's a big deal.
It's boot camp. A bumper boot camp.
That's how we provide the content.
Yes, I think just after all the episodes we've talked about, let's just give a rundown. So we started with the constant crisis, went into expectations and into verbal tattoos. And then we played a fun game, which comes out tomorrow, but you guys will see that by then. And I think we owe our audience a little bit more context on who we are. Everyone's like, why don't you introduce yourself? I was like, do we really have to? But I am aware that like new people might not know our stories. And I think that's really important to dive into that at some point. So
Plus, we can't just do one whole episode.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get to know us in just one episode.
Right. No, you can't just know it all. I honestly don't know it all. I am still learning about myself and you. So it'll be a long process. But I think throughout every episode, you've brought your baby into it. And obviously, the world knows that you are a mom. And that you...
If you don't know by now.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yes, we know that. But I think your journey, as you've highlighted previously, has been a bit unconventional or whatever people would call it. And I think this could be like a fun episode to just unpack all of it.
So we're going to be talking about
you.
Emma's pregnancy.
Your pregnancy and kind of like a little before that point and fast forward to today and just kind of the contrast between the two. I think that would be really interesting to unpack. Okay, so I think to start, let's just set the tone. So who is your baby daddy? And how did you meet?
Oh my God. I love calling him my baby daddy. His name is David. Yeah. Technically, we met on Hinge.
Oh.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Shout out Hinge.
I love that.
Yeah, I downloaded Hinge for probably a month and got super overwhelmed by it. And then the second I changed my radius to like a 5-mile radius.
You had it closer?
Yeah.
Why?
Just because, like, I was like, this is giving me way too many people, and I was getting overwhelmed, and I was like, let's see who's, like, right next to me.
But did you know everyone that you were matching with?
No, no, not at all. But I was just like, this is, like, if the pool is so large and it's throwing so many people, imagine if I cut down the pool, will it give me more quality people versus just like...
I see. Good strategy.
Yeah. So, and it did. You know, the second I changed it to that small radius, I got David.
Bing.
Bing.
He popped up.
And I matched with him for 2 reasons. 1, thought he was cute, obviously. And then 2, I knew every single person in all of his photos on his profile. Oh. So I just slid into his DM and I was like, how have I never met you before if I know all the people in your pictures? And so we talked on and off for probably 3 months, never met up.
What?
Yeah, I was traveling a lot in that time and he was really bad at responding. So like it just never made sense to meet up. And then finally, one of our mutual friends had a graduation party and I got there as he was leaving. So it just kind of rekindled this like, oh, we kind of know each other and clearly we're both into each other. So let's make something happen. So that day we said hi and bye just because, again, I got there as he was leaving. And he went out that night super drunk and drunk called me like 5 times.
Oh, did he confess his love to you?
No, he was just like, we need to meet. And I'm like, yeah. And I don't know if he even remembers calling me that many times. But then the day after, I texted him and I said, so are you all talk or are we actually going out?
What?
So he's like, yes, tomorrow. And this is right when COVID happened, like the week.
So 2020, like Feb? When did COVID drop?
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah.
March
of 2020.
Yeah. So he's like, tomorrow, let's go on a hike. So he came and he picked me up. And when he picked me up, I got in the car and I thought it was just a hike between us two. And he's like, so, do you mind if my friends join us? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
Did you mind?
I just didn't know what to say. Like, I liked this guy and I didn't want to,
you were like, whatever you want, I want. At this point.
So he picked me up and we showed up at my friend's house.
Oh.
And the 3 other couples that were there, I already knew them.
Wow.
So I just was like, no, how have we never met before?
Trip. Yeah.
So just on that one hike, we played like Jewish geography and where'd you go to high school situation. And we just realized we had all the same mutual friends and never crossed paths.
That's insane.
And then it took him a solid 3 months until he kissed me.
Oh.
So yeah, so we really got to become best friends, become really good friends until he finally kissed me. And yeah, those 3 months were awesome, but I was just like, I'm friend zoned. Like I fully feel friend zoned.
Really? Yeah.
I'm like, I'm dating all of your friends. Like every single time we hung out, it was with his friends.
Right.
We never had a one-on-one.
In hindsight though, do you feel like that was the best entry or like intro into what you guys have going now?
Yeah.
I like similar with like my story with Jake. We were also super friendsy, and in many ways I felt friend zoned, and I think like back then it could have been, or it felt weird, but now I'm like, thank goodness, like we have our whole life ahead of us.
You really do. Like looking back, like you don't ever rush anything.
No.
And I think
It's not good.
people can look at both of ours, like, how can I say this? Like you can look at my story in 2 different ways and say like, okay, things were totally rushed.
Right.
Or, I mean, I think it worked out all the way it was supposed to happen. Yeah.
Right. It's just meant to be this way.
But, you know, I grow up and the thing I'm going to tell all my kids in the future is like, I just think it's really important that you marry your best friend. And I'm just really lucky that I ended up marrying my best friend. But again, we had such an untraditional path.
Yeah.
That I think, I mean, I knew it before we got married that he was the one, but even after we got married, it was like, okay, like I'm happy things worked out this way.
Absolutely.
So
It was in the stars, Emma and David.
It was.
Written in the stars.
As cheesy as it is.
It's true. So we'll have another episode kind of diving into health stuff, but just give kind of like a rough overview on your endometriosis journey and what you've been told. And I know we talked about this a tiny bit, but I mean, you were told for the longest while that you wouldn't be able to conceive. So that's wrong.
Yeah. Newsflash. Yeah, I was struggling for over 8 years with different health conditions, and the issue with endometriosis is that you cannot validate that you have endometriosis 100% unless you get surgery.
Like exploratory surgery.
Like a laparoscopy surgery.
Yeah.
Prior to my surgery and actually finding out, I knew for sure that I had PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I knew that I had pelvic floor dysenergy, which means that I pre-pregnancy was not able to have regular bowel movements.
Yeah.
So I knew from PCOS that my ovaries were just not with me. And then I knew with my pelvic floor that my rectum and everything around it was just going against me. So that was that. And then in addition to that, I found out I had endometriosis. And then when I finally had gotten my surgery, it was after my surgery that I was told by several doctors that if and when you want to have kids, the chances of that happening are slim to none.
Slim to none. That's what they said.
Yes. You could try IVF. It will probably take years before anything happens. It will be a lot of money, and there's no guarantee it will work. So you should think about surrogacy or adoption.
You are kidding. They laid that all on you.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, as a doctor, it's not easy to tell that information. And as a patient, it's not easy to hear that information. Yeah. I'm happy that I heard that information really early on, even discussing with David or anyone for that matter that I wanted to or was ready to have kids. But yeah, it was just like, okay, this is just probably never going to happen on my own. I never told myself, okay, this is just not happening. I'm never going to have kids.
Yeah.
But the process of being able to have it by myself just kind of was washed away or swept from underneath me.
Yeah.
So the idea of conceiving just
felt very far.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, it's just never going to happen. So me finding out that I was pregnant was like a funny joke.
So take us there. So then you find out you're pregnant. Well, what did that look like? How and when? You weren't planning.
Yeah, I really was not planning on having kids anytime soon.
Were you living with David?
No. David and I were both living at our parents' houses. David had never lived outside of his own house before. He commuted to college and lived at home. So he had never gotten the dorm experience, the apartment experience, anything for that matter. He lived under his parents' roof for his whole life. I, on the other hand, went away for college. I had that experience before, and then post-college, I moved back home until I felt ready to move out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess I just will give you the little story.
Give us the story.
So, again, we'll probably do a health episode another time, but I have to give a little bit of context. I got my endometriosis surgery in July of 2022. I think that's right.
I think it was 21.
21. So July, I got my surgery. And in the surgery, I find out, okay, I have endometriosis stage 4, which is really bad. My left ovary fell. I had appendicitis. My organs shifted, and the scar tissue from the endometriosis grew all over my uterus, my ovaries, my appendix, my liver, and my bladder. So when I woke up, a portion of my liver and my bladder were removed. My appendix was removed. My ovary, they were risen.
Able to restore both ovaries.
Yeah, so they restored it, and everything moved back to normal. They weren't able to laser off all of the endometriosis, but they got a good portion of it.
Right.
Anyway, that recovery took a lot longer than expected, and I was then put on some medication to help with some of the symptoms. Now, I'm part of that small percentage of the world that I am prone to side effects on any medication that I'm given. Mm-hmm. So because I get side effects, I then get thrown additional medication on top of that to help those side effects. So now I'm on 7 different medications. I do not feel like myself. I'm numb. My pain is slowly coming back. And I'm like, what was the point of the surgery?
Yeah.
I feel awful. I don't feel like myself. whatever. Everything just kind of felt like it was going against me.
Intensified, yeah.
So around December time, December, January, I was like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore. I just stopped clean all my medication.
Yeah.
I went to my doctor. I said, I had my Nexplanon birth control in my arm. I said, remove my birth control. And I stopped all my medication. I don't want anything in me. I need to understand like what's going on with my body, with me and my body. Like I don't even know what's going on. Then fast forward to March or April, whenever Coachella is. Mm-hmm. I was working Coachella. And both of those weeks of Coachella while I was working, the only times I had left my booth from work was to go throw up. So I'm like, great, like my body is failing me yet again. So I'm throwing up now. I can't contain like the fluids in my body. I'm running to the bathroom and things are going in both directions. And I'm not understanding what's happening to me, right? Like, again, I had pelvic floor dysenergy before this, which meant I could not go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So now I can go to the bathroom and I'm throwing up. I think I have Crohn's. Like, nothing is staying inside of me. So I go through like another month and a half of that where everything is like failing me. And then in June, I fly to Israel for an entire month full of weddings and bachelorettes, and I'm having the time of my life. You know, I'm drinking, doing stuff. I am going out nonstop, and I'm in really good energy and vibes, and my hair looks great.
I remember us hanging out with Emily and Emmy, and you were like, your hair was gorgeous and your skin was glowing, and we were like, wow. Like,
you guys all asked me for my skin routine.
Your skincare routine? You're like double cleansing, you need an oil cleanser.
I'll never forget that. I was like, wow, no one's ever asked me for my skincare routine.
You were like, it's really the double cleansing. And we're like taking notes.
So yeah, like on the outside, for the first time in my life, I was like, okay, I kind of look decent. Like my hair, I was like, my hair is hairing. My skin is skinning.
Like I'm serving right now.
Like I didn't have a pimple on my face. As you saw, my hair was shiny, like was not frizzy. On the outside, things were looking up for me.
So and you felt like you were healing almost.
Yes. And because I was going to the bathroom, this isn't a good thing to say out loud, like in both directions, throwing up and shitting myself everywhere. I was like, wow, I'm kind of skinny.
Oh my God.
So I'm skinny. My skin looks good. My hair looks good. But why do I keep throwing up?
Yeah.
You know, like something's wrong. So like I would go to these weddings and I'm dancing on the dance floor. I run to the bathroom. I throw up. I come back to the dance floor. I'm dancing. Like everyone just thought I was drunk.
So you had energy.
I had so much energy. I was just having the time of my life. Like if you ask anyone that was with me in Israel, I was happy. I was go lucky. I was let's go. But I was also complaining like, why
are you like,
why am I throwing up?
Yeah.
Because at a certain point I was like, okay, maybe I'm just drinking too much. Like I'm not going to drink anymore. So like the second half of June, I just stopped drinking and I was still throwing up. Whatever. So I text David when I'm in Israel and I'm like, something's wrong with me. I look great, but I feel awful.
Yeah.
So I get back home and he's like, okay, well, I don't think you have Crohn's. Like you just need to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So I'm looking on Google and Google tells me I have diabetes. So I'm like,
you tell Google to tell you that.
Yeah. So I'm like, David, I have diabetes. He's like, stop. Like,
stop self-diagnosing.
Don't go on WebMD.
Don't do that at home. Just don't. Don't even.
So I self-diagnosed myself.
Don't do that.
And I texted my doctor, or I emailed my doctor, and I'm like, I have diabetes.
Oh my God.
He's like, no,
you don't.
But let's get tested. So I did a bunch of tests. He's like, you don't have diabetes. I'm like, okay. I'm going to send you to get an ultrasound on your liver and your gallbladder because you were just drinking a bunch. Like, let's just make sure everything's okay.
Yeah.
And going to get an ultrasound for me, again, super normal. I was going to get ultrasounds probably every 3-4 months.
Yeah.
For like 5 years.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fine. I go in to get an ultrasound at the usual place that I always go to. And the technician was very conflicted. She was like flipping me over and asking me like, so what's up with your ovary? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, I don't know, you tell me. And I'm
You're
like,
not supposed to talk.
no. Although I always ask so many questions when I'm there. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you tell me. And I'm like, well, they saved my ovary and my endo surgery. And she's like, yeah, I can see that. And I'm like, okay, well, is everything okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm not allowed to say anything. Like, your doctor will talk to you. And I'm like, well, you're kind of concerning me. She's like, I'll be right back. So she gets up, leaves the room, brings in another technician. Now they're both looking at me, looking at the monitor. They're like, so why are you here again? And I was like, I'm getting my liver and my gallbladder checked. Like, is everything fine? And they're like, your liver and your gallbladder look fine. Your doctor will call you. Don't worry, sweetie. Like, everything's fine. Your doctor will contact you. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you were like, okay, what are we?
Yeah. And already when I was there, I was feeling a little queasy. Like, I had to wait a long time to get my ultrasound.
Yeah.
And I wasn't allowed to eat prior to that. So I was like, okay, I'm just feeling queasy from not eating. I was fasting for this ultrasound. So I get in the car and I call my mom and I'm like, they questioned my ovary. And she's like, what were they questioning your ovary for? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, well, call your doctor. I'm like, I can't. Like, I'm just leaving. He's not going to know anything. And she's like, well, I need, what's going on? And I'm like, I'll call him tomorrow. Like, everything should be fine. They said it's fine. So I go home, go to sleep. I wake up and my boobs hurt so bad.
This is a new symptom.
New symptom.
The boobs.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention, like, prior to this ultrasound, like, when I came home from Israel, I was waking up parched. Like the SpongeBob episode where they're like, water. Like, that was me in the middle of the night needing water. And I'm someone who barely drinks water in a day. So I'm like, that's why I thought I had diabetes. Like, I was craving water. I was craving something sweet. Like, yeah. So I wake up the next day and my boobs hurt so bad. So bad to the point like putting a blanket over me when I was sleeping. It was like, huh.
Wow.
So David, natural PA, physician's assistant, for all of you who don't know, does like a boob examination. And he's like, oh, maybe you should go to the doctor and get it checked. Like, it does feel a little funky. I'm like, hold on. I run downstairs to my mom.
Was it both boobs?
Both boobs.
Oh.
I lift my shirt and I go, please check my boobs. And she's like, okay. So she's now feeling and she starts to giggle. I'm like, is something funny to you? Like, this really hurts. And she's like, I think you're pregnant. These are pregnancy boobs.
She's the first person that
My
said
mom,
that.
everyone, ladies and gentlemen, told me I was pregnant. So I'm like, funny. And now my heart's beating really fast. Okay. She's like, I think you're pregnant. And I'm like, that's funny, mommy. Like, that can't be happening. Like, whatever. I run upstairs. I'm like, David, you need to go.
You told him to go.
Yeah. So whatever. He had school anyway, so he left.
You gotta go.
There was no question. So he left. Now I come back downstairs and my mom's like, let's go get a test. And I'm like, I've never taken a test before.
You've never taken a test before?
No, never ever took a pregnancy test in my life. Now I'm like shitting myself, okay? Physically and mentally shitting myself. And she's like, let's go get a test. And I'm like, I'm telling you right now, like, I'm not pregnant. I'm like, we're careful. She's like, not always. I'm like, no, mom, like, sorry, David, but like TMI, he never finished inside. So, surprise, you have to have sex to have a baby. So I'm like, we're careful, like this, so we can't. And then every doctor's told me I can't. And she's like, don't listen to any doctor. Like we're going to get a test. She gets in the car. She's like, my mom's having the best day of her life. Okay. Takes me to lunch, takes me to get ice cream.
Like, what a dream come true.
She's like, takes me to Sephora. Like, I'm someone who doesn't ever wear makeup. Like, why am I going to Sephora? She's like, let's go to CVS. Like, she was just having a field day. Now I'm getting nauseous thinking about this, like going throughout this whole day. I'm like, I don't feel good. It's faster to go to my friend's house than it was to go home. So I go to my friend's house, test in hand.
Where's your head at this point?
I'm freaking out.
Like good freaking out, or like
no,
I'm worried like this can't be happening?
This can't be happening. It's not happening. It's not happening.
Did you think I'm not engaged? David doesn't want to be like, what did you think?
I was just like,
You're like, this is not part of the program.
No, like how could I be pregnant? Like I've been told no. Also, like what the F is David gonna think?
Yeah, just it's like
David and I are not in this place right now. Right. Like he's in school. We both live at home. We like literally just told each other I love you. Like it was very fresh.
Very fresh.
And we were in peak like honeymoon stage of we have such a fun relationship. Like everything we do is fun. I'm not about to just like, I'm not that the pregnancy was a mess up, but like, I'm not about to just like alter our plans, whatever plan. We didn't even have plans. Anyway, so I show up at my friend's house and she's like, wow, what a nice surprise. What's up? And I hold up the test and she's like, oh. So we go to her bathroom and we're taking the test. Now, if you've never taken a pregnancy test before, you pee on a stick and then you are supposed to wait like 5 to 7 minutes until you get your result. I was different. I couldn't stop peeing. Okay, so in the middle of my pee, it tells me I'm pregnant.
So
there was no waiting.
So you took another one.
Right. So
because you were like, something's wrong.
Yeah. So now I'm peeing. I look down. I see it. I finish peeing. I hand it to my friend. And I like slowly like move myself to the ground from the toilet. Okay?
Yeah, because you're like having your
I'm shaking. Like I'm shaking right now just like talking about it. So she sees the positive and she's like, oh, how? How do you want me to respond,
this
right?
Is magic.
She's like, are we like
right, like how do we respond?
Yeah. Now I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna faint. Water. She's like, water. Runs out of the bathroom, gets water. Next thing I know, my mom comes into the bathroom. My mom sees the test. She's
the
like,
first test.
And my friend comes back from the bathroom. And my mom's like, oh my God. Picks up Amazon. Okay. Now she's on Amazon, like buying baby clothes.
You're joking. So she sees test and goes to Amazon.
My mom is so excited. Okay. I'm going to faint. My mouth goes dry. I drink another water bottle and I go back to pee. Same exact thing happens on the second test.
Positive.
Within seconds.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. Oh my God, I'm pregnant. My friend.
How old were you?
24. My friend goes, again, how do you want me to react? She's like, I'm with you. I'll react.
She's like frozen.
I'll react any way you want me to react. So I'm like, oh my God, I just beat every odd. Every doctor that I've ever gone to, I just beat all the odds. I'm pregnant. So like initial like reaction was, oh my God, Like, I got pregnant on my own.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but I got pregnant on my own. Like,
Right.
and then boom, I'm like, what is David going to think?
Yeah. So it went from, oh my God, this is impossible. This doesn't, it's just defeats everything I've been told. And then immediately David.
Immediately David. Yeah. Before, what are my parents going to think?
Yeah.
What are my siblings going to think? What are my friends going to think? It was David. So my mom was like, this is amazing. She's like, this is amazing. And she had already texted my dad.
She texted your dad.
She already, whether text, call, I don't know which one, but she already informed my dad about the news, okay? Again, you guys, this is like 5 minutes. So she's like, we're so happy for you. I'm like, who's we?
Yeah.
She's like, me and your dad. I'm like, Abba knows? She's like, yeah, call him. So I leave the bathroom and I call my dad, and my dad, love you to death. He calls me and he's like, Emma, this is the best news I've ever heard in my life. Put a smile on your face. You now are growing a human being, and that human being can feel every emotion that you're feeling. You're not allowed to feel anything but happy. Yeah. We're here to support you no matter what. You got this. I love you. I'll see you later.
Beautiful.
So I was like, okay. Okay, this is good.
You're like, if Abba says so.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, this is good. This is good. My mom's here. This is good. And I'm with my friend and whatever. So I was at my friend's house, and her best friend is my husband's best friend. And David was already scheduled to come to that house like later, 2 hours from then. So I call him and I'm like, hey, could you come now? And he's like, well, I'm coming in a few hours. And I'm like, I need you to come now. He's like, well, is everything okay? And I'm like, I just need you to get here. Before this, he knew, okay, I'm either diabetic or I'm pregnant.
He had a feeling that you were pregnant.
Yeah. Not that I was pregnant, but he had a feeling something was going on.
Yeah.
So when I opened the door to let him into the house, he was like, you're not diabetic, are you? And I'm like, I didn't even say anything. Just shook my head. So he's like, okay. So he didn't enter the house.
He was frozen.
Yeah, I closed the door behind me, stepped outside, and he was like, he calls me Bemmy. It's like, Bemmy, first of all, this is amazing. He's like, you're fertile. Can you just wrap your head around that? Like, you're fertile. Do you know how hard that is, like, with endo and PCOS, that you're fertile? And I was just like, yeah. He's like, this is a miracle. And I'm like, yeah. So like,
had the same initial.
The initial reaction was amazing. Okay. It was like, oh.
Yeah.
Because I knew forever his one goal in life was to be a dad. Like,
yeah.
And this kid is meant to be a dad. So like, okay. So then I see him like slowly, holy shit, like processing this news. So we go inside and he looks at his best friend, and his best friend did not know anything that was going on. He was just so confused. Like, why is Emma here? Why is her mom here? Why now David's here? Why does everyone look like they've seen a ghost? David and him leave. And I guess David told him about the news in the car. And then we all go to their basketball game because they have a basketball game scheduled. Now, my twin brother meets us at this game, and my dad meets us at the game. Everyone has the same agreement. No one tell Josh, my twin. No one tell Josh.
Why? Specifically Josh.
No one tell Josh. Because Josh is probably the best person to ever exist on this planet Earth. And he feels not only that I'm his twin, but he feels anything that you feel. He is the most empathetic and sympathetic person to exist. And it was just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how I'm feeling right now. So if I don't know, how do we expect Josh to know how to feel? So he comes and he obviously understands, like, he's like reading the room, like, what? Why is everyone acting so weird? David played his worst basketball game ever. I was sitting there like, there's a baby in me. There's a baby in me. Nothing was going on in my head except there's a baby inside of me. My dad's like, my mom's like shopping. Anyway, we leave. David goes home to talk to his family. And then David comes back to my house at midnight. And I think that's just when everything kind of settled in and the fear and the shock hit all of us. Granted, I think it's a very fair response, but David and I think we both got really scared.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how far along I was yet. I didn't know how this happened. Like, none of us, just like, what was going on? So I had emailed my doctor saying, hey, I don't have diabetes. I'm pregnant. I need to come in. So the next day I go in and he comes back with the test and he enters the door and he goes, you're really fucking pregnant. You're 4 months pregnant.
What?
So it's not like, oh, you're 3 weeks, you're 4 weeks, when people typically like find out 2, 3, 4 weeks. No, you're 13 weeks pregnant. Like, and going into my 4th month.
Do you show at 4 months? Like, I know it's different for everyone, but no. Mm-mm.
Like, if I showed you a picture, you're like, oh, you probably just have to poop. Like there's a little bubble.
Do you ever think like I'm bloated or?
Yeah.
You really?
Yeah, but that's a common symptom of endo and PCOS. So PCOS especially is that there's days where you wake up and you feel like this massive cloud in your tummy, and I was like, this is normal. Like,
yeah.
So he's like, yeah, you're 13 weeks. Like, wow. At the point where like you can find out the gender. So I'm like, great. Okay, cool. Again, more fear. I was terrified. I was so terrified, but I was more terrified about what was going on in David's head.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was like, this is a miracle, but like, right. I want the other person to be excited.
So was there any thought in your mind that this wasn't meant to be?
No.
Or you were like, this is meant to be?
When you're in a very happy relationship, and that's why I think I felt so strongly about this really being a miracle. I was so in love. I was so happy. I knew within me that David was the one that I wanted to be with. I knew that this baby was created and formed out of love. So why question it?
Yeah.
And then to add to that, being told your chances are slim to none.
Yeah.
And to conceive with that in the back of my head, another reason to think that this is a miracle.
Right.
So to me, it was always, okay, this is happening.
Right.
I'm going to do this no matter what. But that isn't to say that I wasn't scared, especially in the beginning. I was terrified because it was like, oh my God, like, I'm not engaged. Like you think about all the things that you're supposed to do, in quotes, like supposed to do pre having kids, right? Like you should move out and live with your husband or your boyfriend. Then you should get engaged, and then you should travel a little bit and understand how you guys travel, and you live together, and then you get a dog or a pet, and then you think, and you get married, and then you think about having kids. Like, we weren't there. David was still in school. I was just living at home, trying to figure out my life and my business. And we didn't ever talk about kids.
Yeah.
So now we're thrown headfirst into the deep end. So, it took about a week and a half to like fully process and be like, okay, we're doing this. We're doing this.
Right. We're committing
to each other. We're committing to our baby.
Yeah.
So David came to me one day with his laptop and a stack of papers and a pen. And we went to go sit at a park. And he goes, we need to talk about things. And I'm like, okay. We need to talk about our future. Because now we're having a baby. And he's like, I need to make sure that we align on things. Because obviously we're not engaged. But I need to know that you and I are in this together for the long haul. So now I'm like all giddy. I'm trying not to be like outwardly giddy that like he just told me like that I'm the one and whatever. So now we have these like really in-depth conversations about our finances and how we want to raise our kids and what does our religion and our spirituality mean to us? What do we believe in? Our health. How do we take care of ourselves and how do we take care of each other? When one person is hangry, how do we need to resolve that? When one person's upset, how do we resolve that? What does personal space look like? What does living together look like? How do you feel about pets? How do you feel about public school versus private school?
Wow.
How do you feel about holidays, travel?
All the big things in life.
Big things and small things. When you're pre-marriage, pre-having kids, like you have how long of a relationship you want it to be to talk about all these things.
Right.
David and I didn't have that. Like I tell a lot of people, I got to know my boyfriend when I was pregnant and we moved in together.
So you guys moved in.
So whatever, he pulled out the stack of papers and he's like, I need you to draw a timeline of what you think our next 5 years is going to look like.
Whoa. That's so intimidating.
I was like, okay. So to me, it was like, okay, you're taking your PANCE exam for PA school at this date. So let's start it from there and go on.
Okay.
So he asked me, he's like, do you think it's important that we move in together before having a baby? And I'm like, I don't think it's that important. Ideally, yes, we do. But if we need to both figure out like moving into one of our parents' houses so that we have the extra support, then we will make do. And that's what will happen because he wasn't making money at the time. Like he was still in school. So whatever it could be to make him feel comfortable, that's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I needed to pull in my weight of being the strength and the cushion so that he can feel like a man. Like he needed to feel like the man in the relationship.
Right.
So I gave him that response and he's like, wrong. We need to live in together. Or we need to live together. So by the end of the year, like before the baby by December, we need to live together. I was like, okay. Then he goes, do you think we need to get married before the baby comes? And I said, again, ideally, yes. Does it need to happen? No. But I need you to know that I would love to have the same last name as my child.
Yeah.
So he goes, okay, wrong. We're going to get married. So I'm like, okay. And then, we talked about all the other stuff in between. And then he's like, we're having a baby. Emma, we're having a baby. We're doing this together.
That is.
So Again, this is July,
Yeah.
and we moved in together in September. He took his pants exam in August, just to give you guys like a little bit of
Yeah.
picture. Like, we had this conversation in July. He took his pants exam in August. And we moved in together in September. And then he proposed to me very soon after. He proposed at our 3D ultrasound with Noah on the screen so that she could be our witness.
Oh, that's sweet.
Really caught me off guard. And then we eloped in our backyard in January. And then Noah came in February.
Oh my God.
So we had
roller coaster ride of like highs, mostly highs. It's like such a miracle, honestly.
It's so funny because like to the public, at least like during that time, people, I would see old friends, new friends, and they're like, holy shit, you're having quite the year. You're pregnant. You got engaged. You're getting married. You moved. What?
Right.
I'm like, yeah, imagine all your milestones condensed in 6 months.
So while you're going through all of that, were you spinning? Were you like, this is so much to process?
Yes, but I was so excited. Honestly, like pregnancy was the best time of my life.
Really?
Of my life.
So you had an amazing pregnancy.
Amazing. I wish I could be pregnant my entire life.
You're joking.
I wish I could carry other people's babies.
What?
That's how much I enjoyed
you
it.
Make a killing.
Yeah. But then I would get too attached to the baby.
Right.
No, I had the best time because those 9 months I was pain-free.
Yeah.
Imagine going 8+ years with endometriosis and PCOS pain, constant pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then the minute you're pregnant, the pain stops. So those 9 months, I felt the healthiest, aside from the throwing up in the beginning that I didn't know.
Which is very normal. Yeah.
I've fully felt the healthiest I'd ever felt my whole life. I was going out in heels until my 8th month of pregnancy. Like I was just...
You felt
I
on top
was
of
energetic.
The world.
I was excited. I felt so much love. So much was going on around me and to my baby. Like I felt amazing, which makes me excited for the next pregnancy, whenever that may be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved it. And then I was somebody who never envisioned a big wedding. I was always like, let's elope. Like to me, that was just... let's do it.
Right.
All I cared about was having like a cute dress.
Right.
Even then, I just pulled something out of my closet. But, 9 months after Noah came out, we threw a wedding party.
Right.
But besides the fact, like, I was so happy with just like having my parents, my siblings, David's parents and siblings with us in the backyard.
Yeah. It's really special.
Yeah. I don't know. It just felt like it was all meant to happen.
I think it is the biggest blessing in your life. And I think when you were going through it, it was probably like the most chaotic in the best way. But now, so fast forward to today, what would you tell Emma, who fell to the floor after taking the test?
You're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
It's a bump in the road, physically.
Yeah, physically.
A physical bump and, bump in your path. But I think bumps could be good and bad.
Yeah.
They just shake things up. And now
it's all about perspective.
And now you have this angel.
Yeah. So her name is Noah Soleil. And in Hebrew, N-S, Ness means miracle.
Yeah. Oh.
So her initials stand for miracle.
She is a miracle.
So
I love it.
She is my little miracle and fully embraces and really defines that word.
What do you have to say to the people who may think that they need to have XYZ in place? Obviously, you know, when you have a kid, you think you want to provide for your child. You want to make sure that you're giving them a great childhood. Obviously, you had all those, not misconceptions, but those ideas before you became pregnant. But what would you say to those people? Obviously, everyone's situation is so different.
Yeah.
But what would you say?
I would say a few things. One, when you make a plan, God laughs at you.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a yellow brick road. So you think that you need to have X, Y, and Z in place. I think differently.
Yeah.
Two, no good decision is made out of fear. So you can't make a good decision out of fear.
Yeah.
So you need to try to put aside your feelings of being scared, anxious, stressed, and really listen to your gut on something. Yeah, your intuition is so powerful, and most of the time, the world and the people around you want what's best for you. So if you just hone into that, things are going to work out.
Right. And then I think also on the flip, a lot of people could say whatever they have to say, and that shouldn't weigh so heavily on your shoulders. It's your path. At the end of the day, I'm sure you got a ton of opinions.
Oh, yeah.
And still do. Just raising your baby, like, people probably feel like they, you know, have a say.
I mean, look, it's not all rainbows, butterflies, and unicorns.
Totally.
Like, I did get hit with postpartum depression pretty bad. I do have my fears and anxieties to this day.
Sure.
But on the flip side, I'm so grateful for how my life has unfolded now. And, you know, with every baby comes a different blessing. So she saved my life in the physical, mental of it all. So I have my baby to be grateful for, and
you brought her into the world.
Yeah.
She's flourishing.
And listen,
butterfly
again, I'll go back to the basics. Like, she was truly, truly made out of love.
Yeah.
There is so much
like
love.
The purest love.
Yeah. So much love between David and I that she is just a walking
love
bug.
being.
Yeah. So to all those people that have health conditions and were told maybe the same things that I was, please don't lose hope.
No, don't.
I know it's easier said than done, but, you know, I was very much surprised. To all those people who think you need to have X, Y, and Z figured out before you bring in a baby, again, to each their own. But
you'll never
know. You'll never be satisfied. And life is not meant to be easy and mapped out for you.
Yeah. No.
So, you know,
it's part of the wild
go through
adventure,
those bumps.
the fun adventure.
Yeah.